today. The mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jax 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers. And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Most of us know how to throw. But you need to know what to throw. I'm not talking about footballs, baseballs, softballs. We're talking about those items you need to recycle. Republic Services explains it easy. Recycling simplified. 1. Know what to throw. When in doubt, throw it out. 2. Empty, clean, and dry those materials. It takes an extra minute, but it makes a big difference. And 3. Don't bag it. This makes the recycling process faster and more efficient. This is a look at the Republic Services North Florida Recycling Center. You can make this process even more efficient. By utilizing those 3 steps, Republic Services can help you become a better recycler in your home. Learn more at recyclingsimplified.com.
If you look good, you feel good. And the medical professionals here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics are here to make you feel your best. I'm on camera every week, and I have a confession to make. I'm not always confident in my appearance. Can you see my dark circles? Is my makeup highlighting my fine lines instead of covering them up? I question it all. So when I found out about the wide variety of procedures here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics, I knew help was just one appointment away. Medical Director Dr. Megan Deacon Casey and her board-certified physicians have been using the latest in cutting-edge technology for the last 10 years, giving men and women their personal confidence boost. From Botox, fillers, Morpheus 8, and so much more. The hardest part was figuring out what I needed. Thankfully, the medical team walked me through what would work best for me through a free consultation. Come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
How's that feel? Do I need to say any more? Club 904 is going up on a Sunday post game after a Jaguars 34-20 win. Let's get after it. Oh, yeah. Welcome into a Sunday post-game edition of Club 904, syndicated on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 channel. For those of you who were hanging out with us on the official post-game show, for those of you who were hanging out with us on, as we're making sure you guys can hear me. I think you guys can hear me. It looks like you can, so let's hope you can. Noah Schlicksup says he can't hear me, so hopefully you guys can. Welcome in, Club 904. Whether you were listening to the Action Sports Jax 24/7 post-game show, maybe you're listening to the Locked On Jaguars post-game show. There's so many ways to consume, so many ways to just soak it all in. The Jaguars are officially an 11-win squad after a 34-20 victory over the Denver Broncos. Noah Schlicksup, who was hosting that post-game show, is supposed to be joining us here momentarily. He said he couldn't hear me, so YouTube chat, Twitter chat, yep, you guys can all hear me. It's good. So you could hear the, how does that feel? Maybe Noah could hear that one as we welcome him into Club 904. He's smiling, folks, which means he could hear me. Noah, just mute your laptop if that's, actually, no, you should be good. It's on your phone? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I was making sure that I could hear on Twitter because I couldn't hear on the laptop, but I just had to rejoin.
Okay, good. So Noah is all locked and loaded. Hey, and as Clay says, Northern California sounds very nice in February. It's funny, Clay. I don't want to say anything, but this week's guest on Club 904 on Tuesday, Gus Logue, asked me off the record, or not off the record, just off the air, Noah. He was like, have you started looking? And I was like, I mean, which we just talked about on the Action Sports Jax post-game show, after my conversation with Travis Etienne, where he's like, I'm just focused on the Jets. Like, I've just been like, all right, we're just focused on Indy. We're just focused on Denver. Like that's all I can be focused on. I know Brent Martineau echoes that sentiment, but here we are. An 11-win football team resides in Duval County. I have not really had a chance myself, Noah, to truly soak in just the amazing tweets, the amazing content we are seeing coming out of Denver. So for those who may have missed the Action Sports Jax post-game show with Brent Martineau and Stuart Weber live in the locker room, give us a synopsis of what we just saw. And then we also will get into some of the questions that were still lingering that we're going to lead off Club 904 with.
Yeah, so I've still got to see their show and what we got in the locker room, but I heard Trayvon Walker was great with sort of the screw the haters or the people that are trying to hop on the bandwagon. Liam Cohen started off his press conference with a little small market jab at Sean Payton. We got a lot of happy Jags fans in the YouTube chat that have been celebrating this entire time, and a lot of people that you haven't quite gotten this sense of optimism, I think, in a long time in Duval County. I think a lot of people were waiting a little bit to start ringing the bell that the Jaguars have arrived. In this game, a dominant win over the Broncos, going into the fourth quarter up 17, and then continuing that to the end. The Jacksonville Jaguars established themselves, and I think they've got this entire fan base behind them now.
So apparently, and I'm paraphrasing here, Trayvon Walker live on the Jaguars official radio network broadcast with Bucky Brooks said, quote, "Sorry for my language. Sorry to my grandma, my dad, but bleep everybody but the Jacksonville Jaguars." Yeah, I'll let you guys go find that one on the internet. It's readily available. We will hear from Liam Cohen's opening comment a little bit later in tonight's program because it was electric. It does speak to the ethos of this town. But we are also here to answer your questions as part of this victorious celebration, in addition to breaking down this game. And so, Noah, before I send you off, after we have a little bit of back and forth on a job well done tonight in Action Sports Jax's coverage, we were asked by Ether Dark, friend of the program, about Cam Little. I think, honestly, like, it's an obscure place to start, but I do want to give flowers to the special teams. Logan Cook had a 63-yard punt today. His net was 55, easily one of his best performances of the season. Thought long snapper Ross Matisic, who's been a little up and down this year, then had the back injury, thought he was great. And obviously Cam Little was, his elite self. I mean, I'm a little worried that he had too much fun kicking field goals in the Denver altitude, and like maybe he's going to want to like move there, or at least in the off season, go play golf there. But yes, I was a little disappointed we didn't get to see the 80 some odd yard field goal that many in NFL world were. I think the NFL national world was more excited about the possibility of a Cam Little 80 some odd yarder than they were the Jaguars actually upsetting the Broncos. And I think that kind of says a lot about where the Jaguars sit in the NFL landscape, Noah.
Yeah, I mean, we've got national reporters going on national television and saying they don't care about the Jaguars. I don't think you get that with too many other NFL teams, but Cam Little, they were showing it on the broadcast. He hit from 73, was just short from 75. We were supposed to get him on Brent Martineau's Jags Report Live tomorrow night, but that fell through. I really wanted to ask him because we've been doing some social media content at those shows, doing a few questions beforehand. I just want to know what the longest kick that guy's made in practice is. Is 73 the max there in Denver? Like, what can he do? Because it's been absolutely electric to watch him this year. You don't get excited too often to see a kicker, but with Cam Little, sometimes you're sitting there just hoping to see, man, like we were watching the game. It was an honor to watch the game, by the way, with Dan Hicken and him sitting there towards the end of the first half. Just stay there at midfield. I want to see him kick a 62-yarder right now. You just want to see how that plays out. And I'm sure one day we're going to get to see something like that. But for the Jaguars, I'm sure they were plenty fine not having their kicker try it from there and putting 34 points up on the scoreboard, and majority of that coming through the end zone.
In case you are one of the over 500 of you tuning in live between the various networks of the Action Sports Jax 24/7 universe or my personal Twitter at Mia O'Brien TV, we do encourage you to participate in the conversation, especially if you're listening on YouTube or X. A lot of ways you can interact with the show. Let's hit some of those questions before we send young Noah Schlicks off for the evening after he hosted the post-game show here on the Action Sports Jax Network. This one is from our friend Jag Lawyer, who is also a subscriber to the Mo Bryan NFL Notebook, Noah. He has been stumping for Cole Van Lanen to be the starting left tackle for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so he asks, Can we get some Nick Bonito stats, please? How much money did Cole Van Lanen make today? I have those stats for you, sir. 1 quarterback hit, 1 0 sacks, 0 passes defended, 0 fumbles, 2 tackles. That's for one of the best sack getters in the National Football League. So yes, a pretty darn good day at the office for Nick Bonito. For those of us who have said, hey, listen, Walker Little is a capable left tackle, higher ceiling. Look, Cole Van Lanen is in a contract year and playing out of his mind. It's awesome. I said it last week. I'm going to say it again because I know Cole gets a kick out of it. Yeah. If you can't appreciate me at my talking Iowa, Wisconsin football from 2015, then don't come to me in 2025 talking about how awesome Cole Van Lanen is. Like, I was there in the mud with my friend CVL last year and the year before that, talking about the glory days of Wisconsin and what Luke Fickell has done to them. So, like, I am the last person who's going to give flack to CVL, folks. He played awesome. By the way, though, and I think it bears bringing up at the top of the show, Noah, as we answer your questions live, like it bears bringing up, and Liam Cohen addressed it in the postgame presser, that Walker Little, outside of that one miscommunication deep in the red zone, he played great at right guard for Patrick McCarry, who was ruled out of this game with a back injury.
Yeah, and McCarry, let's be honest, he has struggled there at points this season. I think he's one of the top linemen in terms of most penalized in the league, or at least he was at one point this season. He's had some struggles, and that's where Walker Little started with the Jaguars. His first starts were at that guard position, and I think we're seeing Cole Van Lanen. The fact that he got the start there over Walker Little this week means he has established himself there for Liam Cohen and this coaching staff. He is the Jaguars left tackle, and I think that's going to be the case going forward the rest of the season. And I think, like he said, he earned himself a good chunk of change today because he continues to prove week in and week out he is a very capable and a solid left tackle, which is a commodity in the NFL. If you have a good, solid outside offensive lineman, Anton Harrison's been performing much better than he was last year. Cole Van Lanen has really established himself over these last few weeks. The Jaguars are going to want to keep a guy like that around.
Yeah,
and they're going to be willing to pay a lot for it.
Right. And I've already, mentioned that and reported it at the Mo Bryan NFL Notebook, which of course you guys can subscribe today. Free 7-day trial is ongoing. And of course, subscriptions start at $5 per month. That I've heard from multiple people inside the building that yes, they are willing, and now they're not only willing, they have made it a priority to keep Cole Van Lanen in the building. And that may go as far as having to tag him. Do I think it's going to get to that? No, but do I also think that Cole Van Lanen could fetch a pretty penny on the open market right now? Yes. So it could get to that. Now, what do you do with Walker Little in that situation? Let's see how this plays out over the next 2 weeks and into, dare I say, the postseason. Let's give a birthday shout out to St. Lamar in the chat. All St. Lamar wanted was a birthday or victory for the Jags. St. Lamar, you got a birthday victory for the Jags. Robert, 4 more wins, and Liam will have more wins than Gus Bradley as the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, Carter Bradley's on the team, man. Like, and he's what did Gus do? I understand, folks, but also like I've had one interaction with Gus in my life, and it was life changing. It was a lunch at the combine, and I shout out to Gus. Gus is
you know
awesome.
what my favorite, I do want to, I've talked a little bit with, I wasn't here for Gus Bradley. I've never talked to Gus Bradley, but I've talked a lot with Brent Martineau, and he told me a story. He used to bring Ty into work sometimes, brought Ty into the Jags building. He couldn't find
Ty is in his son, for those of you, since I know my mother's going to be
Ty
like, who's Ty? Yes.
Ty Martineau, he lost him in the building. He didn't know where he was. He's asking people, going all around. You know where Ty Martineau was? He was having lunch with Gus Bradley.
Yeah, that clears. That clears. That's the type. Defend Gus. Like, I mean, we're out here defending a lot of Jaguars of years past because we had to go through, as dare I say, Nick Foles once said, we had to go through those trials and tribulations, folks. Members of the media included, to get to where we are now, where you potentially have not only the coach of the year, but you have your next coach. Knock on all the wood you can find for the next 10, 20 years. Be happy. It's a place that when every other team in the league is clamoring for the next Liam Cohen, you should be glad we have finally reached that point. Britney Spears' future husband, thanks for hanging out with us. Believe this is a first-time YouTube chatter, but happy to see me on the Action Sports Jax airwaves. Nice that you found us. This team put up 29 on the Texans and 34 on Denver. And those are reportedly, or at least that's what they tell us in the national media, Noah, the two best defenses in the National Football League, or if not the top two, they are two of the top five. And I do think that comment certainly bears meriting on the air, because this is a team that for weeks has said, roll the ball out, we'll play whoever, whenever. And after a game like this, and knowing what was simultaneously taking place at NRG Stadium in Houston, in which the lowly Las Vegas Raiders were giving that Houston team all they could handle, it says to me that the Jaguars and what they have been preaching inside the building needs to go out into the community, needs to be embraced by the fan base. I'm going to say it again because I say it every Club 904 and it's worked out so good so far. Do not be burdened by what has been. And I'm not trying to quote any former presidential nominees. I'm trying to speak to you from a place of what I have heard from people, not just in Jacksonville, but across the National Football League. You cannot be hurt by Gus Bradley anymore. You cannot be hurt by Nick Foles. We can laugh about it and acknowledge it was part of the journey that got us here, but you need to live in the present, folks. And the present is, you have a team that put up 29 on the Texans and 34 on the Broncos. Like, you have a pretty darn good football team.
Yeah, and it bleeds down from the coaching staff. And it goes back, you mentioned on our show, Travis Etienne, and mentioned it here, talking about he's focused on the Jets when you were trying to ask about this team going to the playoffs. This is a team that is focused on going week by week, and they're not afraid of anybody. It shows Liam Cohen going back to that little shot at Sean Payton, going back to that exchange with Robert Saleh out on the field. Their head coach is young, he's full of energy, and he's not afraid of anybody or any team. And it shows with this team week in and week out. They go in with a killer mentality. They go out there looking to dominate and destroy, quite honestly, whoever they're playing. And they've been doing that. We've seen in the past couple of years, this team will go out and they'll maybe have a game where they play down to their level of competition or they play up to it. This team is showing up every week, no matter who they're playing against right now. Whether it's a team they're supposed to beat by 20, they'll go out and beat them by 30. Or if it's a team that they're not favored to win. I think this was a -3.5 Broncos spread I saw last night going into this one. The Jaguars win by 14. They're not afraid of anybody, and that starts at the top with Liam Cohen.
That is a shout out, by the way, to Emerson Latzia, friend of the program over at DraftKings, now the official sports betting partner of ESPN as well. Jaguars 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 meetings entering the day against Denver, make it 5-0 against the Denver Broncos, who, by the way, we're 5-0 entering 5-0 this season when trailing entering the fourth quarter. At some point, Noah, there was going to be regression to the mean, whether it came tonight at the hands of the Jaguars or if it was at some point down the line. You can run with your national narrative, folks, that the Broncos needed this loss to set them up for a playoff run, for a Super Bowl run. That's all fine and dandy. But when you have matched the Kansas City Chiefs mark of 11-0 in one possession games, tell me, Noah, what's currently going on in Kansas City 1 year after they achieved that historic number in 2024?
They're calling for Andy Reid on Twitter, so I don't think it's going very good.
Yeah, they will finish with a sub 500 record for the first time since Andy Reid got to Kansas City. They will miss the postseason for the first time in a decade. Regression comes for us all. I'm not suggesting the Denver Broncos are going to fade down the stretch. I think that's a damn good football team, even if their coach is a little egotistical, and that's okay too, because it's an egotistical profession. But I do think that it is okay to say in the same breath, and that's why we let off by saying this was and had the makings from the jump of a 12-round heavyweight fight. And it's okay as a Jaguars fan to embrace this reality of now, if this is sustainable, as so many of you are saying in the chat, these are the type of football games you're going to be playing in that 4 o'clock window for the next however many years. Daniel does note, and then I'll let you go, Noah, that he feels that not only should Liam Cohen be getting some pub and some love for National Coach of the Year, but that Trevor Lawrence should be in the consideration for Comeback Player of the Year. I haven't heard anything about that. Have you guys? I'm sure you addressed it on the postgame show.
You know what? We didn't talk about Comeback Player of the Year, but we talked a lot about Trevor Lawrence. I do want to give a shout out. I don't think he's watched, but my friend Matthew Green actually mentioned this to me a couple weeks ago. If Phillip Rivers finishes this season, I think that's who it's going to go to. But Trevor Lawrence, I think it's a fair argument to say, I mean, he missed most of last season with an injury. He struggled last season. He is kind of the definition of a Comeback Player of the Year. He's leading this team to now 11 wins in the season. They're 1 game back from being the 1 seed in the AFC, and he's playing like the guy we were promised coming out of Clemson. I think he definitely deserves to be in that conversation for Comeback Player of the Year and could be cementing himself maybe as the leader of the pack right now. And the other thing we talked about on the post-game show, and this was a question I wanted to ask you before we had to go off. We had Shaq Quarterman, former Jaguars linebacker, on to start the show. And I asked him, is this Trevor's ceiling? Is this what we've been waiting to see since he was drafted? He said no. He said this is not Trevor Lawrence's peak. And keep in mind, I don't think he's thrown an interception since the Cardinals game. He's got 10 total touchdowns in the last 2 games. He's playing like an MVP over the past month. And Shaq Quarterman goes out here and says, without a doubt, this is not Trevor Lawrence's peak. I think he's a guy that we're seeing him develop in this Liam Cohen offense. And people mention it in our chat on the show. They mention, I can't wait to see what he's like next year after a full year in this system. Now, it's pretty tough to sustain an average of 5 touchdowns a week. But Trevor Lawrence, he's starting to arrive, and it's really exciting to watch. And, comeback player of the year, I believe he should definitely be in that conversation.
Like that, Daniel, I think you're like the first person to like bring it up, which is pretty absurd. Like I've also seen people in our chat and some others bringing up like he should be in the MVP voting, which sorry, spoiler alert, folks. I don't think he's going to get the love he deserves. Like Jonathan Taylor's on a team that's probably not going to make the postseason and probably is going to get more votes than Trevor. Sorry, it's just reality. And by the way, that's a small media market in Indianapolis too. Whoops. But I do think the comeback player of the year vote is interesting. And look, speaking of Phillip Rivers, should be noted that the Jaguars do need the Colts to lose tomorrow night to technically secure their playoff position, although they're at the 99.9% benchmark in qualifying for the playoffs. We still have a lot to do here on Club 904, but Noah, you've been at this for a couple hours. We're going to send you on your way. Let the folks know who may not know you what's coming up for you on Action Sports Jax. Of course, the voice of the Friday night game of the week here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 channel and Blitz Breakdown on Mondays.
Yeah, well, we've got every UNF home basketball game live on the network, contributing a lot of the social media here for the Jacksonville Jaguars content, high school football content. Catch the Action Sports Jax Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. We're very active on there. In fact, my night is far from over. I don't know if you can see, we got Chandler Dantzler over there. We're about to get to work on the post-game content, getting out all the locker room video that we can. We're limited to 90 seconds now since about halfway through the season. Some post-game content from Denver, so we get that out on the Action Sports Jax socials, so find us there. And then, of course, Jax content throughout the week.
You guys can now put a face to the name if you hadn't already. And also hilarious in that, as I mentioned on the post-game show, Noah asked me last night, who's the guest on Club 904 tomorrow? And I said, we figure it out as we go. We got to figure out who wins first. You were the guest, Noah, all along. We should have known. Appreciate you hanging out with us for this opening segment. And we'll have to do it again sometime soon.
Yeah, I'd love to be back. Thanks for having me, Mia.
There he goes, the pride of the Quad Cities in Iowa, the one, the only. Yeah, he's the pride of Iowa, not me. Come on now. Noah Schlicks up. As I mentioned, still a lot to do. You are going to hear Liam Cohen's opening comments from his press conference in Denver, Colorado. Folks, trust me when I say you are not going to want to miss it. Club 904 continues right after this.
See a pit? It ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Choose your own adventure. It's not just a saying, but a way of life here at Cycles of Jacksonville. And whether it's 2 wheels or 4 wheels, at Cycles of Jacksonville, a great adventure awaits. With brands like Honda, Vespa, Segway, and Triumph, Cycles of Jacksonville has you covered with their inventory featuring a 60,000 square foot building. If 4 wheels is more your thing, check out the largest selection of Honda Talons in the entire county. No matter what you're looking for, Cycles of Jacksonville is going to have the selection you need. all with great financing and rebates. Plus, if you're active duty military, Cycles of Jacksonville will offer you 0% financing along with great discounts for military and first responders. And when you want to get off the road and set sail, Cycles of Jacksonville has you covered with everything you need to get on the water. So if you're ready for a great adventure, let Cycles of Jacksonville be your guide. Located off Atlantic Boulevard, or check out their website at cyclesofjacksonville.com.
Nobody but Nimnicht. Our family has purchased 6 vehicles from Nimnicht Buick GMC. The #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville has lots of inventory to choose from with their best price guarantee. Who gives you top dollar for your trade? Nobody but Nimnicht. Save up to $10,000 off select new GMC Sierras or get rates as low as 1.9%.
You know, I'm a truck guy. GMC Sierra, my trim level is an SLT. This one's an Elevation. Pretty good looking color as well. So here at Nimnicht Buick GMC, you have a lot to pick from. My father-in-law, he drives this, an Enclave, so I feel like that GMC in the family. 2025 is coming around the corner, which means it's almost time to close out those 2024s this summer.
You can schedule a test drive at nimnichtbuickgmc.com. And while you're there, check your trade value and customize your payment options. Nimnicht is there for you, even on Sundays. So, who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? The answer's simple. Nobody but Nimnicht. Your friends in the car business since 1941. GMC, we are professional grade.
Welcome back into a Sunday post-game edition of Club 904. Appreciate the nearly 850 of you hanging out with us live on the various channels of the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. And since I see it percolating in the YouTube chat, if you haven't already, you can subscribe to the Mo Bryan NFL Notebook. That is not only where you get my weekly written reports live from the Jaguars practice facility, the Miller Electric Center, and much, much more. You can subscribe today. You'll see that bottom line that's going to be ticking across, or you could just Google Patreon, Mia O'Brien, Mo Bryan NFL Notebook. It'll come up there too. Or you could head to my Twitter page at Mia O'Brien TV. You'll see the pinned tweet at the top, that video. Click on it. The link will be in the tweet that follows. You guys are truly taking on the identity of your head coach, or maybe it is in the inverse. I've never seen some of the comments like I'm seeing now. From Danny, I want no love. Let us cook under the radar. From Jordy, just go win the Super Bowl MVP, Trevor. That's the award that actually counts. And when I say you are taking on the identity of your head coach, and I apologize for the quick 5 seconds delay that we're going to have with some technical issues, just because I didn't get a chance to already have it locked and loaded. When I say you are taking on the identity of your head coach, I am not kidding, because here is Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen, his opening statement at the podium following Jacksonville's 34-20 win over the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, great team effort. Just thankful that, a small market team like us can come into a place like Mile High and get it done.
Was that a nice rallying cry?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
About Trevor Lawrence handling the atmosphere of that defense, how close do you think to that?
Very impressed. Very impressed with the way these guys have continued to compete. Trevor, the offensive line, had to shuffle a few things. I thought they protected really well. Did some really good things in the pass game. Parker Washington stepped up in a huge way. All those guys, I think he threw it to about 7 different receivers in the game, whatever it was, and guys just keep battling and making plays.
I don't know who was caught more off guard. Ryan O'Halloran, the columnist at the Florida Times-Union, after Liam Cohen responded as such, or Liam Cohen when Ryan asked a follow-up question. But hey, listen, it's all good fun. And as more than one commenter, including Mr. Pico Boulevard, noted, what a badass. Tampa misses him. Do we have Bucks fans in the chat? We had him on the Locked On Jaguars, Locked On NFL YouTube show earlier, and I was so excited to see you all there. In all honesty, I don't know what's going down there in Tampa Town. Point is, you have a head coach who not only recognizes the history, despite only being here since January, he embraces that same underdog mentality that Jacksonville has embraced for its 31 years of having an NFL franchise and being the quote-unquote smallest media market not named the Green Bay Packers in the National Football League. And I can tell you this, dating back to last October, when I first started reporting, hey, there's interest between not only coaching candidates and the Jaguars making a move away from Doug Peterson, but specifically Liam Cohen and his interest in the position down the line, his camp's interest, that was a big selling point, was this idea of this is a football crazed market. This is a crazy man who loves football, a coach's kid who has that same chip on his shoulder because he was overlooked in the football recruiting process. And he had to coach in New England and in the Northeast and had to be coaching at UMass and Maine and all these backward locations for many of you who only follow the SEC. Like, and then he ended up at Kentucky eventually, I know, after the Rams foray. Point being, like, Liam Cohen was taking on the identity of the Jaguars, chip on the shoulder, that edge, long before he got to Jacksonville. And that is why he was always the right pick for the job. And again, time will tell how long this marriage lasts. But right now, sitting pretty, 11 wins for the first time since I was in middle school. We will gladly sign up for that. That was in the early mid 2000s, by the way. Because again, the Jaguars won 10 regular season games in 2017. They won 9 when they went to the postseason in 2022. 2007, they won, I believe that was 10 games. So yeah, here we are, folks. Here we are. Let's hear from the hero in today's game, Parker Washington. I know there were a lot of heroes, and we'll dive inside the numbers coming up after this, but I feel like we should set the table with these comments from the Jaguars' leading receiver, a career day, 6 catches for 145 yards. That's a 24-yard per catch average, 1 touchdown. It included a long of 63. Here he is after such a historic day on, and this one's kind of wild. Did he anticipate today being the day? And maybe was there any sort of premonition?
Yards any receiver has had against the Broncos defense this year. Just kind of what going in, did you expect this to be a game where you could make an impact?
You know, personally, you know, that's where that confidence comes in, is just knowing the player I can be. And, you know, this was a big time game for us, and it just happened to be the week where I'm like, I feel really good. I felt good Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it came as we got to Sunday. I was like, let's go. I was on the phone calls with like my trainer. I was with my mom this morning. I'm like, it's gonna be a big game, and I was excited to make those plays.
Moss was a big first half with making tackles in open field, but obviously the TV break. Did you make any kind of adjustment, or did you just kind of make the play when you needed to most in the second half?
These last couple weeks.
There's those technical difficulties that I had a feeling would pop up at some point in time. But hey, listen, this is what we get for going wall to wall on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 channel. Love that from Parker Washington, that he had this little premonition talking to his mom. Today could be the day. Liam Cohen commented on that in his post-game press conference as well. This idea of, we know, depending on who Patrick Surtain, the reigning NFL Defensive Player of the Year, whoever he is locking up, someone is going to be freed up. And that is no knock on Riley Moss, which subscribers to the O'Brien NFL Notebook already heard. Actually, I realized afterwards I forgot to include this in Friday's notebook. I apologize, folks. And if I did, whoops, my bad. Immense respect for Riley Moss in the Jaguars locker room from both the offensive and defensive side of the ball, despite the fact that he's been the most penalized corner. And multiple players said to me, the reason that he is this butt of everyone's joke is not just because he's a white corner. It's because he has the most opportunities of anyone in the National Football League, because no one wants to throw at Patrick Surtain. And so depending on how they matched up Surtain, which he was on Brian Thomas Jr. for a good chunk of the first half, they were bringing safety help over Jacoby Myers. They knew that there was someone who would benefit, and it would just be on that player, whether it was Brenton Strange, Parker Washington, Tim Patrick, whoever it may be. Shout out to De'Ami Brown getting some run there in the fourth quarter on the final drive of the game on those nice little, potential jet sweeps, a little motion in the back. It was nice to see number 5 back out there. Point being, they knew someone would benefit from wherever Surtain was not involved. Let's look inside the box score, and then we'll also bounce around and see some facts and figures and notable numbers as we close out the show after our next timeout. But first, again, Parker Washington led the way with 6 catches and 145 yards. Next leading receiver for the Jags was indeed Jacoby Myers, who only had 1 catch in the first half. He finished with 4 catches for 45 yards, including a long of 25. Travis Etienne, 4 catches for 16 yards. That included a touchdown. Brenton Strange, 5 catches for 39 yards, also a touchdown. Brian Thomas Jr., 2 catches for 18 yards. I'm not going to do the last dance since we've still got about a half hour left in the program. But if there's one big thing I want you guys to take away, and certainly we had this conversation, not just on the Locked On Jaguars channel earlier tonight, but also on the Action Sports Jax postgame show, I'm going to liken Brian Thomas Jr.'s stat line to that of the run game, because I know that there are many of you listening right now, whether it's live on YouTube or wherever, or if you're listening on demand, wherever you get your podcast, because you can do that too. There are those of you who are panicked about the run game number. The fact that the Jaguars finished this game with a grand total of 81 yards on the ground. That's a 3-yard per carry average, given they carried the ball 27 times. Travis Etienne, 16 carries, for 50 yards. LaQuint Allen, given no Bashal Tutin, was the second number 2 running back with 4 carries for 10 yards. And then Trevor Lawrence, 6 carries for 20 yards. Jacoby Myers had 1 end around. I know you see that number. And because you were spoiled in the first half of this season, you say, what the heck? This is the same team that ran for $190 against the Los Angeles Chargers. Why aren't they doing that on the Broncos? Well, number one, the Broncos defense is pretty darn good. And number two, as you saw against the Jets, as you saw against the Colts, well, yes, in the words of Doug Peterson, you pass to score, you run to win. You do need to run the football. The reason you run the football is because if your pass game is successful, you want to keep the defense honest. You want to present a different look and be a multidimensional offense. If the defense knows that you're just chucking that ball down the field, then they're just going to put 7 DBs back there. They're only going to rush 3. If they know you're just going to run it, i.e. the New York Jets in 2025, then they're going to stack 10 guys inside the box. As long as you are balanced and you are giving the impression that you can do both, then the run game is successful. As long as you are continuing to matriculate up and down the field, and that's what the Jaguars are doing. Now to the Brian Thomas Jr. of it all. Look, they thought he was going to be the focal point of the offense. Liam Cohen, James Gladstone, Tony Baselli when they got here in January. He's not. But they've adjusted. He is still important to the offense. As we've seen the last few weeks, he can certainly go off. His mere presence, just like the run game, forces defenses to account for him. And you have to play the Jaguars honest, because there is always that possibility now, even if he is not operating primarily out of the slot, even if he is not primarily that Justin Jefferson type wide receiver, Jamar Chase, another LSU guy who can play all 3 spots and be the one doing that dirty work underneath. Even if all he does is outbreaking routes and go routes, there is still the threat of him stretching the field. There is still the threat of that deep dagger curl, although Jacoby Myers has been running that one much more, of Brian Thomas Jr. having a large chunk play. And because of that threat, you have to have Patrick Surtain follow him. You have to account for him one-on-one in man coverage. And in doing so, you take away resources and you open up opportunities, if you're the Jags, for someone like Parker Washington. As a defense, you recognize, well, now we're down X amount of players because we have to be accounting for Brian Thomas Jr., just like you would the run game. And so I say all this to say it may not be the prettiest stat line, but that does not mean that the influence and the impact isn't still important for this Jaguars offensive operation. Let's do some stats, numbers, figures. We'll do some last dance as well. And of course, we will answer your questions live when we continue Sunday post-game edition of Club 904. Hey, make sure if you're not already, you're subscribed to the Action Sports Jax various channels. You heard Noah Schlicks up plugging that TikTok and Instagram as well. If you're one of those young whippersnappers on either of those social media channels, make sure you are liked and subscribed, locked in with the whole team over at Action Sports Jax. More Club 904 when we continue right after that.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jax 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers. And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Most of us know how to throw. But you need to know what to throw. I'm not talking about footballs, baseballs, softballs. We're talking about those items you need to recycle. Republic Services explains it easy. Recycling simplified. 1. Know what to throw. When in doubt, throw it out. 2. Empty, clean, and dry those materials. It takes an extra minute, but it makes a big difference. And 3, don't bag it. This makes the recycling process faster and more efficient. This is a look at the Republic Services North Florida Recycling Center. You can make this process even more efficient. By utilizing those 3 steps, Republic Services can help you become a better recycler in your home. Learn more at recyclingsimplified.com.
If you look good, you feel good. And the medical professionals here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics are here to make you feel your best. I'm on camera every week, and I have a confession to make. I'm not always confident in my appearance. Can you see my dark circles? Is my makeup highlighting my fine lines instead of covering them up? I question it all. So when I found out about the wide variety of procedures here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics, I knew help was just one appointment away. Medical Director Dr. Megan Deacon Casey and her board-certified physicians have been using the latest in cutting-edge technology for the last 10 years, giving men and women their personal confidence boost. From Botox, fillers, Morpheus 8, and so much more. The hardest part was figuring out what I needed. Thankfully, the medical team walked me through what would work best for me through a free consultation. Come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
Don't worry, Jag Lawyer. I see you on YouTube looking for your praise for Cole Van Lanen's elite day against Nick Bonito. We already went through that stat, that number. We're going to dive into some more here in our final segment on this Sunday post-game edition of Club 904. Thanks for hanging out with us, whether you're one of the 1,000 plus listening live on the Action Sports Jax channels, YouTube, X, Facebook, or if you're listening on demand, because you can do that as well, wherever you get your podcast by going to the Action Sports Jax podcast channel. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us as we look inside the numbers of Jacksonville's 34-20 win over the Denver Broncos. Let's begin with a couple stats that I got from the broadcast that I think really played out in real time for this team. Let's begin, of course, with the elite stat that one Doug Peterson coined the phrase. I'm sure there have been coaches in Jacksonville. This is like the 3rd Doug reference of the show. Shout out to Doug. We talked, we're not hurt by what has been previously, whether that be Gus Bradley or Nick Foles. We're keeping things moving here in Jacksonville. The middle 8, big talking point by most coaches, not just Douglas. Jacksonville, plus 20 in the final 2 minutes in terms of point differential. In the final 2 minutes of the first half, that is 4th in the National Football League. Denver came into the day plus 16, and obviously Jacksonville was able to capitalize. They forced Denver to punt around the 2-minute mark, and then they were able to tack on a Cam Little field goal before the break, although it did not break his own record of 68 yards for the longest field goal in NFL history, which I know upset many of you. But that's the sign of a good team. The good teams in the National Football League recognize, hey, you know what, especially if we are not getting the ball to start the second half, or if we are, we want to double up. We need to value that possession, especially when you have a kicker who can make from 68 yards. And so you don't have to worry about the threat of, well, what if we don't hit the field goal and then we turn the ball over deep in our own territory? And so, yes, I think that's a big part of it, but it's a credit to Jacksonville, well coached, well disciplined in a 2-minute offense. Shout out to LaQuint Allen, by the way. The blocking on Alex Singleton on the Trevor Lawrence scramble, something tells me that's going to actually be my last dance, but alas, we're going to mention it now because it needs to be studied for science. I tweeted it. LaQuint Allen was evaluated for concussion, did clear concussion protocol, and came back into this game. As more than one person noted, the concussion saw LaQuint ran the other way because he's from Jersey, and he is like that. Fourth quarter, though, that has been the bugaboo for your Jaguars. And I know I speak for many of you when I say that I am sure when they went 3 and out with about 10 minutes to go in this ball game, thoughts of that Texans collapse started creeping into your brain. And I agree. And this was brought to my attention on Twitter. I want to make sure that I get the right name of the Twitter user. Also, by the way, Greg Rosenthal is calling it the ambush at Mile High too. Shout out to NFL Daily. Great podcast. If you don't listen to it, you should. So this is from Occupational Hazard, who says that Liam is a bad play caller in the fourth. I'm just saying it. He's awesome at every other time, but he's just terrible in the fourth quarter. The reason you think he's terrible is because he's not running the football. And I think he'd be the first to tell you that, yes, against the Texans, he probably could have called 1 or 2 more runs. But if Chuma Edoga doesn't have that hands to the face penalty, that completion of Parker Washington against the Texans holds, and Cam Little kicks a 59-yard field goal, and they get out of Houston with a win. And it's a 7-game win streak, it's a 9-game win streak. Math is hard. 8, because the Jaguars have won 7 of their last 8 since the bye week. And so I think that, yes, it can be frustrating, but when the passing game was working the way it was, and the run game, while keeping the defense honest, wasn't really resulting in the production you need, I don't really fault Liam too much, especially when there were 2 drops on that drive of those 3 plays that were called in the 3 and out. And so in the fourth quarter, coming into the day, Denver had the second best differential in the league, plus 54 points scored versus given up in the fourth quarter. Obviously, when you come into a game 5-0, when trailing in the fourth quarter in previous situations throughout the course of a season, that suggests that you score a lot of points in the final frame. And so that was the case coming into the day. It was not here at Mile High for this game. The Jaguars, meanwhile, were minus 27. That was 25th coming into the day in the fourth quarter of football games. That is 25th in the league. They did only score 3 points, but the Broncos only scored 3 points in the final quarter of play. And with the Jaguars, you need to remember it's minus 27 because minus 21 against the Texans. So you just minus 6. Don't lose sleep over that one. Some other numbers, since it was brought up earlier, I want to make sure that we do fact check it. The Jaguars last year were the 26th best offense in terms of points scored per game, 18.8. They are now 8th. That was coming into today, 26.9. Obviously, they go over the 30-point plateau once again. It's now the 6th straight game, I believe it is. 7th straight game that they've now gone over that 30-point plateau. I think it might be every game since the bye week, as I'm quickly running through the numbers in my head. Meanwhile, on defense, they were 27th last year, gave up 25.6 points per game, just 20.9 points per game, 10th in the National Football League. A shout out to Anthony Campanelli and his defense. You guys are keeping all the questions coming, and we're going to hit them, rest assured, but let's do some more numbers and cents. The fun part about this, again, because we had Action Sports Jax post-game show, I had Locked On NFL's post-game show. We're just going to pull up a bunch of numbers and stats from our various friends in the Jaguars and NFL universe, and we're going to see what order they pop up in, and we're going to react to them live. So this is true roulette, folks. Let's get after it. All right, so let's see. First up, we have my good friend, wait for it. It's Ryan O'Halloran of the Times-Union, second reference of the program. The Jaguars were 7 of 10 on third down today, going up against, again, a defense that was supposed to be, or at least we were told, was one of the best in the National Football League. They are still one of the best in the National Football League. So they started 7 of 10. They actually finished in this game 8 of 15. That's a 53% average on third down. The Broncos defense was first at 31.9% in terms of allowing opponents to convert on third down. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, the Broncos were 5 of 14 on third down. At one point in time, Kevin Kugler and Daryl Johnson said it during the broadcast, when it felt like this was a heavyweight fight back and forth, and really the Jaguars offense wasn't matriculating up and down the field, the Jaguars were hanging in that game because they had the advantage on third down. That's what allowed for them to hang in this game. And then ultimately they pulled away late because they just continued to pound the rock. And even if it wasn't, the yards per carry you guys want, they were just able to stay in the fight. And finally the rock broke. Next slide. We've got from Jaguars PR. A couple of you guys really enjoyed this one because it says historic and the word Joe Burrow is in it. In today's win, Trevor Lawrence completed 23 of 36 passes for 279 yards, 3 scores to pair with 20 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. He is the third player in NFL history to have at least 275 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown in back-to-back games, joining Joe Burrow and Kyler Murray. Not sure you want to be in the same conversation as that second guy these days. Trevor Lawrence was in the conversation with that second guy throughout much of the offseason because both reclamation projects, both number 1 overall picks that maybe hadn't lived up to the billing up to this point. One is certainly on his way out of Arizona, and the other one appears to be sticking around Jacksonville for the long term. Of course, if you had told some of the folks listening to this podcast 5 weeks ago, they would say, no way, Jose. All right, keeping it moving. We've got our friend, this is from Next Gen Stats, but our friend Dan Griffiths actually pulled this one up. Parker Washington, again, a career day. He actually gained 90 of his 145 receiving yards against the Broncos after the catch, plus 70 yak over expected, the most by any player in a single game this season, the most by a Jaguars pass catcher since at least 2016. I would assume that is when Next Gen Stats began tracking that measurement. And look, we talked about this on the Action Sports Jax post-game show. Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers have never played for Sean McVay, And they certainly did not play for Sean McVay in 2018 to 2020 when Liam Cohen was the assistant wide receivers coach. However, they are cut from that same cloth as early age Cooper Kupp, although I'd argue still current age Cooper Kupp as well. Brandon Cooks back when he was with the Rams. The type of players who can play all three wide receiver positions, not afraid to go over the middle of the field, do that dirty work in breaking routes, and in turn generate yards after the catch. And look, again, I go back to my earlier point about Brian Thomas Jr. It is not to say he is still not a vital part of this offense. He's the frosting. You could still have cake without frosting, but the cake just tastes better with the frosting. Does that work for you guys? Like, that's what BTJ is. But Jacoby Myers, Tim Patrick, Parker Washington, they are the layers of the cake. They are essential to actually having a cake for which you can eat. As we keep it moving, let's take a look at what slide we have coming up next. I think we have one more here. Let's see. Nope, that was our one from Jaguars PR, so that means we only have one more left. I thought we had one from our friend Gus Logue. That's okay. We'll get more Gus a little bit later. This one should be... There it is, from our friend Daniel Griffiths. The Jaguars pass rush, which certainly in the first half of the season, let alone the first half of this game, frustrating at times. Without Danny Strigow, the undrafted free agent rookie out of Minnesota, who had an ankle injury that kept him out of practice all week. Shout out to Emmanuel Ogbah. The chat, myself included. Clay, I'm wondering if this is you in the comments. No, it's not. That's someone else saying, legend has it, Mia never sleeps. Her enemies keep her eyelids open. Actually, true story, Duval. I do sleep with my eyes somewhat open, but that's a different story for another time. It's actually a genetic condition. Whoops. Clay and I were going back and forth. Emmanuel Ogbah. I know a lot of you guys too. E-Man's the best. If you guys haven't had a chance to listen to him, he's a good dude. But yes, he's 31 years old. He recognizes what his role is in Jacksonville. He understands why he's been a healthy scratch, why they have to have BJ Green get some run, Danny Strigow. They need to see what they have in those young guns because they do have that little bit extra juice comparatively to someone who's been in the league for 10 plus years. But it's a credit to him. He had a pass breakup in this one, had a nice stop as well in run defense. Obviously recovers the fumble, the first takeaway, the first of two on the day for the Big Cats. And so Griffiths brings up the pass rush that really picked up the pace in the second half. And so the Jaguars' pressure percentage was 44% and the Broncos 45.5% by game's end. Nearly identical unofficial Pro Football Focus numbers. If you had showed me that in the first quarter of this game, I would not have believed you because it looked like this Denver pass rush had the Jaguars number. And as I know, Hef is already in the comments noting, Marcus Ogden noted on the Locked On Jaguars postgame show too, they changed their protections. They recognized that the middle of their offensive line was where pressure was being generated the most, and they adjusted. I do think, and this is what's going to be fascinating to ask Liam Cohen tomorrow moving forward. Yes, I know Patrick McCarry was ruled out of this game. What do you do if he doesn't play next week against the Colts? Like, obviously, hope he's feeling better with his back injury that kept him out of the rest of this game. Are you going to play Walker Little at right guard? Are you going to roll Cole Van Landen out at left tackle? Wyatt Milam was the eligible tackle. You needed Jonah Monheim because Robert Hainsey did not finish this game. His status up in the air moving forward, and so that'll also be a storyline to monitor. But that run game, and even that pressure rate went down. The run game, arrow pointing up with Walker Little at right guard because he's been a pretty good run blocking offensive lineman, as we've discussed on the show. We went through the numbers last week. If you haven't watched it yet, if you haven't listened, you can go back and listen on demand. And so I'm curious to see how the Jaguars will line up that offensive line, but I have no doubt that they will have some combination that works in some form or fashion against the Colts next week, because that is what this season has proven to us. Let's get to some questions before we get on out of here. Let's start with those of you who had questions. I apologize, I didn't write down who it was. Asking about Mason Smith and about why he was a healthy scratch. Hef notes that was just because of the 5-down defensive line looks, and therefore it made more sense with an odd front to not have Mason Smith out there. I mean, he's got the most penalties of any defensive lineman on the team up to this point. Like, can you name me, chat? Can you name me like an electric Mason Smith play? I mean, Austin Johnson had a near forced fumble against the Colts a few weeks ago. Like, I don't have a play where I say, oh, yeah, that's why he was a second-round pick. Oh, yeah, that's why he's a part of the rotation. And with Austin Johnson, perhaps you get a bit more of that run defense. And additionally, you had to have Smoot kick outside. You had Trayvon Walker kick more inside because you didn't have Danny Strigow. interior of the defensive line is going to be the position to watch in the NFL draft for the Jaguars, not because they need help 100% there, because you'll still have Eric Armstead in the final year of his deal and Devon Hamilton in the final year of his deal should you keep them around next year. It will say a lot about how the Jaguars feel about Mason Smith and how they feel about the rest of the ecosystem. You've got BJ Green and Danny Strigow on cheap deals. Agba, Smoot, if you really want him back, you could re-sign him for pennies on the dollar. You have 41 and 44. I am interested to see what they do with that interior, where Matt Dickerson, who started the season on the practice squad, is getting more run than a former second-round pick, even if it was a second-round pick by Trent Baalke. De'Ami Brown, yes, did play some special teams. Whoever asked that earlier, he has been playing more special teams of late. It's a credit to him, just like Greg Newsome, who willingly, during the Cardinals game when he wasn't 100% healthy, so they pulled him in favor of Christian Braswell at outside corner. He went to the coaching staff and said, I've never played special teams, but we need help. Throw me out there. I will gladly play for you. Just throw me out there, and I am ready to go. Who else we got in the chat with some questions? We've got about 3 minutes to go. Thank you to 48 Boots. Parker 8 underneath all day because of BTJ's speed and Jacoby gaining attention, their game plan. Absolutely. Thank you for those of you keeping score of the Ravens and the Patriots game, because in all the mad rush of all of our programming tonight, I have not flipped my television over, so I've got some sort of cartoon show currently on the telly. From Mike, it's almost like teams have been daring them to make Trevor beat them. Backfiring for sure. Yeah. Well, that's the whole argument, is that this team came into the back stretch of their season. They came out of the bye, and teams around the league knew they could run the ball, but they didn't know if Trevor Lawrence could consistently throw the ball. And he is proving that he certainly can as he continues to grow in this Liam Cohen offense. The Raiders almost took care of the Texans. Yes, Dan, it was very disappointing. I agree. Britney Spears' future husband, Stroud, is extremely overrated. He gets every excuse. Yes. And then we've got more of the BJ Green, CVL love. Between Milam and Monheim, we will be all right. Cohen will make the adjustments. I agree to that. 43 Boots. All right, let's get out of here with the last dance. For me, the play of the game was Trevor Lawrence scrambling on third down. Situational awareness, situational masters, something that Liam Cohen brings to the game plan, brings to the practice plan each and every Friday in Jacksonville. Not something we saw necessarily, or at least under that name, in previous administrations. And when not only Trevor Lawrence makes the decision to stay in bounds, lean his 6'6" frame over the first down marker, had a little stutter step to draw the defender out of bounds, and then leans over to keep the play, keep the drive alive, and keep the clock running. Not only is that a sound play, Travis Etienne, his first down run with about 2 minutes to go in the ball game, staying in bounds, that is not something he does 2 or 3 years ago. And part of that is his maturation as a player, part of Trevor staying in bounds and Trevor making that extra effort for that extra couple yards to ensure it's a first down, to ensure the Jaguars offense stays on the field. I don't know if that happens 2 or 3 years ago. That's independent of the coaching staff. That is just two players maturing. But you can't sit here and tell me that those situational masters classes on Fridays aren't helping that maturation process. In the same vein, Daryl Johnston pointed out, there was certainly a Brian Thomas Jr. opportunity, which ended up being a net positive because the Jaguars converted on 3rd and 1, but he had a 9-yard catch in the first half. Could have leaned over, could have gotten a first down. That's a play that a second-year player makes. I can assure you, if Liam Cohen and this team continue to keep this train on the tracks the way it is going, that is a play that he makes next year. Because why I believe this is a sustainable operation is not because of the 30-plus points per game. It's not because Trevor Lawrence appears to be firing on all cylinders or the defense generates takeaways. It's because they're playing smart situational football. And we haven't seen that around here in quite some time. Still going to be miscues, to be clear, but it appears they understand the why. And that is why, in my estimation, I agree with those who say Trevor looks inspired. Trevor believes in himself. Trevor, yes, Del, he is a winner. Yes, John, give him the kismet. I believe the reason that Trevor Lawrence believes in himself is because he understands why he's doing what he's doing. He's just thought for years he's just playing football, but now he understands why this play comes before that play. And he understands that this player is clearing out for this player because that allows for this player to then have the confidence when I go back to him, even if he misses on a play, that I'm instilling confidence in the entire operation. Things like that are not just surface level, taking the next step, understanding the why, not just of why you are playing and constructing an offense a certain way, but the why as to why you play the game, why you play for your teammates. I don't think that actually, I know that did not exist here last year. Maybe in 22. It faded though in 23 and 24. The why is everything, in the words of Mike Silver, and the why is why your Jacksonville Jaguars are an 11-win football team. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us live here on Club 904. Yes, Del, sorry. Jordan Lewis, I do not have an update. Hopefully Brent and company will stand by. I will tell you what time Liam Cohen is speaking at. This is part of why you do hang out with us live. You get the live up-to-the-minute updates. Liam Cohen will speak at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Potentially could have an update then. Might not have one till Wednesday. Until Tuesday, though, which is when we will have our next Club 904, guests to be determined. Appreciate you winners hanging out with us. Like Del alluded to, you can always catch the replay on YouTube X. You, of course, can listen to it on demand over on the podcast channel. Wherever you get your podcasts, we will catch you later.